noticed that there are key DA wins that came out of this budget. Can you take us through what those wins are?
There are a number of areas that look positive at the moment, and I'd want to chat about not just what those are, but what they mean. And what they mean for people at home is we'll now have an audit of ghost employees, which is people who do not exist but get paid every month, which means that people who do exist and need jobs and are able to provide services such as being doctors, nurses, teachers, are able to now get those jobs, and the corruption of these ghost employees will start getting chipped back at. At the same time, we'll have a spending review that looks across government departments, but perhaps most importantly, we didn't see any increases in value-added tax, personal income tax or corporate tax as part of this budget, which means life will not get more expensive for the benefit of government because of the budget speeds today.
Mark, we have heard a lot as the DA, we've been saying that economic growth and jobs is at the forefront of our agenda. What do you think this budget says about that?
Well, one of the biggest line items in this budget, in fact the biggest growing line item, is infrastructure spending, where we're now set to spend over the next 3 years more than R1 trillion on infrastructure. That's really positive because in the short term we create jobs when we invest in infrastructure, and in the long term what we do is we create the environment for the private sector to be able to create opportunities. It's also really important to note that if we get this right, and it's a big if, things like investing in our rail network and infrastructure, and there's been so much historic corruption, so we need to focus on how it's going to be done. But if it's done right, we'll be able to almost triple the amount of passengers traveling on our rail network, and that's really positive in terms of the cost of living for people, as well as our productivity as a country of people getting to work efficiently.
Mark, this is Budget 3.0. What happens now? I think a lot of South Africans watching at home want to know, after this process, what follows next?
Well, technically, the minister has now proposed something in this budget, and I'd say it's probably more like Budget 1.3, and then it's still very similar. But practically what needs to happen now is we need to pass a report on the fiscal framework. That's the first step, if you will. And then 3 more bills have to be passed in Parliament before the end of July. So the clock's now ticking, but at least we've got something we can work with, and that likely the DA will be able to get behind.
DA at Work, rescuing South Africa.